Am I the asshole for leaving a date early because she didn't tell me she was pregnant?
Oh.
For context, we had been talking for about 2 weeks. We met for dinner, and when she showed up, she was about 6 months pregnant. I asked, and she said she didn't think it was worth mentioning. I said I wasn't interested in having kids or raising someone else's child. I paid for my drink, and then I left. Edit to answer a few questions I'm seeing. My profile said I don't want kids. Hers said open to kids, but didn't say anything about having a kid / being pregnant. Both of our dating intentions was set to long term. This happened on Sunday, but I got a text from her on Monday that said I had been really rude by leaving early, so I thought I would get others' opinions.
Oh, Queen. She should have told him.
Oh my God.
Especially with these are dating apps that have preferences on it. He says not wanting kids.
Yeah. It's too late.
Oh my God. And there's no hiding it, girl. There's no hiding it. Does she think a first date he's going to look at her and change his mind? Not on a first date.
I am blown away by the confidence, the audacity. I don't even know, the delusion maybe to show up 6 months pregnant, not telling someone.
It's a bold move.
It's a bold strategy.
She deserves love.
Absolutely.
She deserves a partner who is going to help raise that child, but take some context clues before you go on the date and see, oh, this guy doesn't want kids. Maybe I'm not going to be the one for him.
You can't blind somebody like that.
And also, I actually really think he did the right move by leaving. I think that's actually the most respect he could have for her. I think he's saying, I respect both of our time too much to waste it here on a date that this is clearly not going to work out. It would be so much better than having a full date and then maybe expecting something else to come from it and then hearing he's cutting it off as soon as he knows it's not right. And a lot of people don't do that.
No, and I think he's so entitled to doing that because your whole relationship then is started on a lie. There's no honesty. How do you trust this person going forward if they didn't share such a key detail about themselves before your first date?
Key detail. A big one that's impossible, in fact, to ignore, perhaps.
Yeah, well, and if you continue this relationship 3 months from now, your dynamic totally changes.
Only 3. And you're in a relationship for 3 months, and now you were kind of co-parenting. Maybe you're not expected to, but
it's a different dynamic for sure.
The woman has a newborn.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
I want to kick out my brother and his family after they've been horrible house guests. My brother, Ellis, recently got a job in my city that required an immediate start. He didn't have the time or money to find a place on such short notice, and his partner, Taylor, just had a baby 7 months ago, so he didn't want to leave her alone. So he asked if he could stay at my place for a couple months to get situated. Ellis is a responsible guy who doesn't take advantage of people, so I felt okay saying yes. Ellis, Taylor, their 7-month-old baby, and Taylor's daughter all moved in. Before they came, I made it clear that I would not tolerate them doing any sleep training or cry it out stuff with the baby. If the baby cries, you need to make an immediate and reasonable effort to soothe him. The other rule was that Taylor was responsible for any damage her daughter did to the house. You would think this would be obvious, but we've had previous incidents. The final rule was neither I nor my husband would be doing any childcare. I'm a stay-at-home mom to my own daughter, as well as having a side business. And my husband works very hard. Just because we're at home does not mean we're available to provide childcare. I thought I went without saying, and they said they would be responsible for themselves in all other ways. They accepted all of the conditions and moved in. It took 2 weeks to go to shit. There were times I'd have to get up in the night to wake up Taylor and Ellis to get the baby. Taylor's daughter also has not adjusted well to the move and is constantly playing sick to avoid going to school. Then, because she's not really sick, she spends the day causing havoc. Taylor has been bugging me to help her with the kids despite agreeing that she wouldn't. She's also been expecting that she and the kids would be cooked and cleaned for her. So it was 2 weeks until I was getting annoyed and a further 2 weeks of me being on edge. What tipped it over was earlier this week. I was picking my daughter up early from school and going out, and Taylor asked me to take her daughter with me. She said she was drowning in things to do and the baby was fussing and she needed a break. I said no, Taylor swore at me, and I just left. When we got back a few hours later, the first thing I hear is the baby crying. I go into the nursery, no Taylor. Her daughter is sitting on the couch watching TV and crying, no Taylor. My kitchen is a mess. No Taylor. I frantically searched the whole house to find Taylor locked in the closet. She said that she couldn't take it and needed a break. I call Ellis and tell him to get his ass home. I sat them down and said that they had to go. I said I would chip in for a hotel, but I can't do this anymore. Ellis thinks that I'm being an a-hole and going back on the deal, but he and Taylor haven't held up their end. I do feel bad because I don't want to stress Ellis out with his new job, but I'm going crazy. I hate being in my own home. Am I in the wrong for putting my foot down?
Am I wrong for being rude to my boyfriend after he withheld salt from me? Me, female 27, and my boyfriend, male 30, are currently on vacation with his family. I have volunteered to cook most nights because I love to cook and am the best in the group at it. So this evening, I was making a dish for everyone and asked my boyfriend to please get me an array of seasonings for this specific dish. MSG, soy sauce, pepper, and salt. He then said, if you're using MSG, do you really need salt? To which I explained that MSG is not salty. It has 1/3 of sodium content to regular salt, and that dishes, if they are using MSG, will typically require salt. I was cooking outside on a griddle and the dish comes together quickly, so I wasn't able to go grab any seasonings. I realized shortly afterward that he had not included the salt, just 3 of the things I requested. And when I questioned it, he said I didn't need it. But the food was bland. Am I wrong for being rude to my boyfriend after he withheld salt from me? It was so bland, so then he proceeded to put on additional soy sauce, which it did not need. It needed salt. Either way, I was defeated and needed to take it off, so I served it as is without salt. Everyone, upon being served, said it needed salt and proceeded to salt their own dishes. My boyfriend stood by his decision and doubled down on his argument that you can't remove salt, but you can add it, and that he preferred how it tasted as is. I was fuming because he has done this in the past and says I occasionally overseason or oversalt food, which happens on occasion but very rarely, and I do 90% of the cooking at home and he loves my food. We argued and he stood his ground that he prefers his food less salty and that if I salted it, he would have been SOL and not able to eat any. However, I know that's not true and he would have happily eaten it. I said it felt controlling and he said I could have grabbed more salt myself.
I think my boyfriend is a narcissist. What should I do? Disclaimer is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. Brace yourselves because this is one messed up story. 5 months ago, my bestie and I show up to this party. Think really rich people living in the Hamptons, a la Great Gatsby, but with TikTok and cell phones. My bestie and I look fabulous. Out of nowhere, this guy comes up to me and starts talking to me like he knew me. I was actually confused. I thought maybe we had met before and I was embarrassed that I didn't recognize him. So I entertained him for about 10 minutes. That's when he told me that he lied, that he'd never met me before, but he was pretending so that he could actually talk to me. I was actually charmed. You see, he's English, and he was in town for about a week visiting his friends, very rich people who were hosting the party. He charmed me so much that night. By the end of the party, he started love bombing me. No, I didn't know he was doing it at the time. He was giving me every single compliment he could think of. How pretty I was, how beautiful my hair was, how I was the prettiest girl in the entire party. They were very generic compliments, but he still managed to charm me. That's when he said, "Can I kiss you?" I said no, and then he kissed me. I was stunned, but I kind of liked it. For the rest of that week, he started showing up everywhere I was. After about 2 weeks, he convinced me to be his girlfriend. But then he started making me feel bad for the people I was hanging out with. You see, I have a lot of guy friends, and he would say things like, "If you love me, you wouldn't be hanging out with all these guys." And the love bombing continued every single day, every hour of the day. He worshipped me. Before I knew it, I was prioritizing him and only him. I stopped hanging out with friends, and he started criticizing my appearance and changing the way that I was dressing. Then one day he told me that I was stupid for not realizing that he was lying to me all the time. When I asked him what he meant, he said, "Wow, then you really are stupid." 2 days later, I found out he's not even English. He's from Ohio. Everything he said is a lie. Then he love bombs me and follows it up with criticism. And when it comes to intimacy, he makes me feel like I'm not good enough, but then he always wants it. And last night he told me that he's more attractive than I am. And if that bothers me, can someone tell me what a narcissist actually is? I think I'm right about this. What should I do?
Am I in the wrong for telling my son's girlfriend to break up with him? I'm 41 female and my son, male 20, has been in a relationship with his girlfriend, Lily, female 20, for about 3 years now. I love my son and I hate to say this, but he's not turned out to be a good person. He has very little work ethic, has no desire to get a job or go to college, and spends most of his time gaming or partying. Lily, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. She's very studious, has aspirations to be a doctor, is a very good swimmer, and is currently away at college. When my son and Lily first got together in high school, they were an excellent match. We loved having Lily over, and my son definitely took more care of himself. Since then, it's rapidly deteriorated. I know my son still loves Lily, but he never gives her the attention she deserves, and with her clear potential, I just feel she deserves better. When Lily came to visit a few days ago, she was visibly upset. When my son went to the store, I asked her if she was okay, and she told me that she didn't know what to do and wondered why my son had such little ambition and was so lazy. I told her that I didn't see it changing anytime soon, as that's my view given it's been going on for almost 2 years. When she asked what I would do in her situation, I told her to put herself first and what she wanted. Lily thanked me and said that she'd think about things. Well, earlier today, my son comes downstairs in a rage telling me that Lily had broken up with him via text. I asked him what she said and apparently the message referred to discussions with your mom, and that made her rethink the relationship. My son was livid that I'd gotten involved and said I'd overstepped boundaries. I told him that I didn't advise Lily to leave him, just so that she had to make her own choices and decide what was best for her. My son is now not talking to me, and my husband is annoyed, believing that not having Lily will make my son's rut last even longer. I also miss having Lily around, so am I in the wrong?